Hi, I'm Danny Glover, and you're watching Joburg Today.
Hello and welcome to Joburg Today. My name is Tumi Hlapo, bringing you the best of what's going down in and around Johannesburg. So the African movie Dora's Piece has received raving reviews both locally and internationally. We sat down in studio with the movie director to not only talk about the movie, but also about the film industry in Joburg. Check this out.
Costa, it's a pleasure and an honor to actually have you here on set.
Thank you for inviting me.
Now, we've had some very interesting stories behind scenes about Dora's Piece. Tell me, how did that come about?
Well, Dora's Piece had a lot of influences, and one of the first ones was the first time I walked into Hillbrow as a young guy coming from a conservative town in Vereeniging, and walking into Hillbrow in the 80s or whatever it was. And it was a very cosmopolitan European kind of a place where the laws of apartheid didn't really apply, right? So coming from a conservative town, you walk in there and you just 24-hour shops, bookshops, music shops. And one of the first times I walked in there, I walked in and I saw this lady who I assumed was a prostitute because she was dressed like a prostitute, like the character of Dora in my movie. And she was calling out to this kid, and she was a black lady. And she was calling out a Greek name. So when I looked, I saw this colored kid run past with a Greek name. And I was like, but how can this be, you know? And then afterwards, when I hung out, I saw these like nice Greek old guys who used to be at the coffee shops and all that, and used to play backgammon and all that, which also kind of forms part of my story as well. They were drinking more than coffee, let's just say, at those coffee shops. So that was an image that stayed, which became ultimately Dora. But it's also influenced by a movie made in the 1980s called Gloria, by a father of independent cinema called John Cassavetes, who was a Greek-American. And he was known for making independent personal films. But then one day his wife, the lead actress in the movie, told him, make this movie for me. And that was a movie about an older lady and the relationship she had with this kid. And that was also an influence. It's a movie shot in New York, 1980. I always considered it a 70s movie because it was that grittiness you had. And that was also an influence. And Hillbrow, because I made this movie with Dora in Hillbrow, because Hillbrow to me has got that grittiness that New York had in the 70s. So that's what I wanted to do. Yeah.
Now, how difficult or easy was it to actually produce this film?
Well, it was very difficult because we started 8 years ago. It took us about a year to write the movie. And then we worked with the National Film Video Foundation to develop it more, and they helped us fund the development process. And that took another year or two, and then finally we had the script, and then it was, a thing of going around trying to find funding. And that took a while, and we had a few false starts, and gladly I didn't go ahead with it because it wouldn't have been as good of a movie. And before you know it, 8 years have gone past, and struggle for money, basically. You know, we had a great script, people loved it, but putting in the money is always a problem, yeah.
I mean, as a producer, what's the hardest part? Getting started or actually keeping consistency?
Well, both. Getting started and afterwards, I've heard a lot of filmmakers locally and international who will say, after this movie, I won an award at such and such film festival, and I thought everybody would come calling. Well, who's going to come calling? Nobody comes call. Everybody's doing their own movies, and the studios do their big budget movies. So as an independent filmmaker, it's always a struggle. And it's the funds, that's the problem.
Does commerce tend to interfere with the creativity aspect in producing a film?
It does normally if you're a director for hire or whatever, but with me, what I do now is I have complete control. So I'm the producer and the director and the editor. So I make sure that I have creative control. So whoever comes on board, whether they get a percentage or whatever, I keep the majority percentage so I can keep that creative control. So on this movie, I had full creative control. Of course, you never really have that because being on location brings its own problems, which you have to deal with. So, like they say, if you get 60% of your original vision, you've done well. And I think we did very well with Dora's.
Have you had times where you've actually had to take 2 steps back with your creativity and say, okay, for the sake of the budget and the movie's production, I'm just going to go ahead and do it?
Well, you have to adapt on set because things happen, problems happen, whether it's weather or something that you wanted that you're not getting, a building, a location, things like that happen over time. So you have to adapt, but you have to try and stick to your vision, but also be open because sometimes you find you go in a new direction and it's actually better. So that's the way. And if you're trying to stick 100% to your vision, it's never going to happen. A lot of people will never get that movie made because, you know, you need to adapt and be open to new experiences and ideas. You know.
So what's been the cinematic response to Dora's piece?
It's been great. We won Film of the Year last year at the Josie Film Festival. Critics loved it. It went down very well locally. And then just recently I came back from the Boston Film Festival where we won 2 awards and the lead actress won an award. And then we also got selected at the Beijing Film Festival, which is very prestigious. And our film screened there with some big films. So it's had great response.
So what's next for you?
Well, next we've got another couple of movies that we're busy developing script-wise, and yeah, we're looking forward to that. But again, it's a process, raising funds. We've got the scripts, raising funds now is the main thing. But I think it'll be easier now with all the NFEF and DTI and these government entities that are assisting filmmakers to shoot their movies, which is really helping in this country. It's a great time to be shooting movies in South Africa.
Costa, thank you so much for being here, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you very much.
I'm Zoni Lengubeni and you're watching Joburg Today.
Like us on Facebook, joburgtoday.tv, and follow us on Twitter at Joburg Today. Raw X Studios, in partnership with the JNB Hive, is launching a new pop-up music academy called We Make Better Music Than You. Led by award-winning producer artist PH, 5 lucky interns will work on a special album to celebrate the studio's 10 years in the industry.
The Hive is a catalyst for creative entrepreneurs in Johannesburg. We're currently focusing on investing and incubating creative entrepreneurs from all around the city. Space here, 100 Judah Street, where the entrepreneurs can come and work from and do their events, and there's a coffee shop and there's a bar from Thursday to Friday and Saturday. So it's a space for kind of where young people can really talk to each other and work together and collaborate. But then overall, the program is between 4 partners, which is JMB Whiskey, Creative Nestlings, Black Nation, and Independence United. I mean, the return of investment from all of us, that's success. So if they're successful, we are successful. The whole idea is just to create a simple way to kind of invest in businesses and also grow businesses in Johannesburg and South Africa generally. So we're not really looking for like monetary return of investment. We're looking for success as an investment because we want to be a catalyst for entrepreneurs. So it's very important that we allow them to grow as far as they can.
We do a lot of events. So the events are broken down into 3 different categories. We have JNB Hive specific events. We have events that are driven by entrepreneurs within the incubation space. We also have events by third parties. Those are individuals from outside. So generally, for you to host an event within the JNB Hive, you don't have to pay any cent. And we also support the people that are hosting events within the space. So we provide all the technical things that are needed for that. We also help them market and promote their events ahead of time so that they get the traction they're looking for. So that's what we offer to the entrepreneurs in the city of Johannesburg generally. So how you get to do that, you need to visit our website, which is the jbhivejohannesburg.com, and there's an events link on that. Then you can just click on that and fill in the form that we have, and we'll let you know in about a week's time if your event application has been successful or not. The reason behind having the Hive in Bram was so that we could be central, number one, so it was a very strategic business location. At the end of the day, we want the space to be accessible to pretty much everyone. I mean, if you look at the taxi routes, I mean, they all lead to Braamfontein. If you look at the Gautrain routes or the train routes, they all lead to Bram, and you can also use things like private transport for that. So it was quite essential for us to get a central location for all the entrepreneurs that we incubate within the space. And also, I mean, being in Braamfontein is beneficial in a lot of different ways. You know, the student market, we're looking at those guys just to harness that talent of entrepreneurship within that space. Even the guys that are starting businesses, you have a lot of those creative entrepreneurs in Braamfontein. So it's much easier for us as an incubator, or as the JMB Hive, to tap into those different markets and talk to those different young people.
Created a project called We Make Better Music Than You, which was to celebrate 10 years of Raw X being alive. And we decided to invite like 5 interns to work with us during a period of time where we're going to make an album called We Make Better Music Than You. The partnership with the Hive came about on a random day. I was on social media, Instagram, I saw some ad appealing to young entrepreneurs. We Make Better Music Than You is focused on production and focused on the upcoming producer as opposed to the next biggest star. So it's like a different spectrum to what normal artist competition look for. So what makes us different and why I know it's going to be a success is because there's a whole market that's been untouched. There's a whole market of producers that are now going to get like a chance to show their abilities and get to work with some of the biggest artists that they might have not had the opportunity to without this platform. The submissions are going to roll out up until 19th June. In between that, the actual academy will be taking place. So we'll be taking in students every week, basically. And this is to keep the whole project moving. And as we're making the music, we kind of have an idea of, okay, maybe we need this kind of producer for this song. Then we go back to all the submissions and we find the right producer that's gonna help this project go forward.
Hey, what up? This is Boots, and you're watching Joburg Today.
And that's all for today. For more on the city, do check out our playlist. From myself, Dumi Tlapo, and the Joburg Today crew, it's goodbye.